in this session of mine, I'll be talking about the mapping of course outcomes, program outcomes, and program educational objectives, and not only mapping in terms of articulation, but also in terms of the attainment, that how to we need to show, or how we need to frame the mapping of attainment of the course outcomes for every subject, because that is actually the issue, that how the we have to show that whether the outcome has been attained or not, right? And then this session, and then after this session, we will have the presentation and your I will give a group task I will give for the articulation, which you can help, or which every teacher can practice for his own subject, right? And we'll also be sending you a feedback form. So the link will be provided in the chat box, and also it will be sent to the mail. So that feedback is mandatory for the certificate generation also, right? So let me share my screen first. Okay, is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So I will not go to these things. We have already discussed about the various what the model of OBE, and the details of this also have been covered by the various speakers. I would now directly come to the mapping and attainment mapping. Okay. Yeah. So just to sum up the few things quickly so that we can talk about the mapping part. So first thing which we have talked earlier was the vision and mission statement. And then we have to design or frame program educational objectives. And as we have already mentioned, these objectives are actually the statements which we expect that the graduates, after say 4 to 5 years of their graduation, what is expected out of them, those are the outcomes. So a very broad statement of the accomplishment of graduates means, like, once he has completed his BTech, then whether he has gone for higher studies, or like for masters, or for MBA, or for any other, or if he has joined a company, then where how his professional career has escalated, his pay scale, or his role job. So everything we have to see. So those type of attainments, what he has achieved after completing the graduation, those are called the program educational objectives, right? Again, when we are framing the program educational objectives, because for every department, for every program, they have to be unique, right? So they should be in consistence with the mission of the institute and the mission of the department, right? And it is not that you, once it is written, then once they are framed, then they cannot be changed for the coming times. No, you can modify those POs, but at least after 5 years, at least 1 2 batches, you see whether the attainment has been done or not. Then only you can modify the POs, but in a very precise or very particular process is there by which you can modify POs. It is not like just that you sit and you just revise or review the program educational objectives. Proper committee has to be formed involving all these stakeholders, right? And documentation has to be done with a very concrete evidence that why we are modifying the POs. When the NBA team comes and you say that we have modified POs, then very concrete evidence has to be given, has to be provided, to which will justify that the POs it was required or it was mandatory to modify the POs, and that is why the POs were changed, right? And when, as I mentioned, a very proper committee has to be formed, a process has to be framed, and then uh, supported by the documents at every level has to be provided to modify the POs, right? So when you frame also or when you modify also, the stakeholders, involvement of stakeholders is very important. So a representative of every stakeholder should be there in the committee to frame the POs. Whether it is faculty, obviously will be there, right? So even students will also be there, but alumni should be there, from industry, that is employees should be there, management person should be there, even if you can try some parent should be there, right? So proper stake, all these stakeholders should be involved in the committee to frame the POs. And as I mentioned, these POs, because see, it is both ways, the bottom up approach and top down approach. So when we are framing the POs, they have to be in consonance with the department and university or institute mission or vision. And also they have to be in tune with the program outcomes also. Okay. So like this is one sample of say electronics engineering, which I was the member and we designed. And PO should not be more than 4 or 5 or 6, not more than. In fact, 3 or 4 is also sufficient. There is no such mentioned thumb rule that 3 or 4 precisely, but uh, like general, this is that only 4 to 5 POs are sufficient. So if you see that these POs, even when the student has left, right, to develop the ability to demonstrate technical competencies and develop the solutions to the problem. So if he has got the job after his degree, is he depicting the technical competency in his job, or he's just doing a layman's job or a simple worker's daily routine job, or he's adding something to the industry, or adding something to the employer where he is employed, to attain the professional excellence, qualities of professional leadership. So we also see this, that after 4 years, 5 years, has he got some higher, what promotion he has got, how he is moving, what leadership qualities or what soft skills he is exhibiting in his during or dealing with the team or dealing with the different domains, and ensure ethical and moral behavior. So this is a just a example of framing the POs, right? So process is again, feedback should be there, right? PO's evaluation should be there and they can be corrected or this one. Okay. Yeah. So now side by side, I'll talk about how we have to see that whether we have attained it or not. So some performance indicators have to be there, which will show that whether the POs which you have framed, they have we have attained it or not. Like you can say for the higher studies, that how many percentage of graduates have enrolled for MTech, PhD or MS program. So how you get the data, like those the students, those who are applying for the GATE exam, the students have to have the signatures from the head of the department while filling the GATE exam, right, or filling the for the MS. So whenever the head of the department is signing that, you keep a photocopy of that page, so it will be a record that these many persons applied for the GATE examination. And when the result comes, then you can take the printout of that result or keep a copy, so that then you will have the data that how many students were they qualified the GATE exam. And as I mentioned, some students go after doing 2 or 3 years job, like they take the 2 or 3 years job experience, and then they go for the higher studies, MS or PhD. Then for that you need a good alumni network, or now we have like LinkedIn, so you can have a college page on Facebook or LinkedIn where you can collect the data, right? So one indicator is going this number of students, percentage of students going for the higher education. And then another is that how many percentage of students having senior positions, like if they got the job, how they are excelling or how they are performing in their jobs, whether they stagnated at the same level where they were employed, or they are excelling and getting promoted by virtue of their performance in their job. Okay. Then how many percentage of graduates are going for entrepreneur activities, or going for the product designing, or going for, so this now, and earlier this parameter was not considered to be very effective, but now with the scenario in our country giving so much of focus upon the entrepreneurial activities, so this parameter is plays a very important role, that how many of your students went for entrepreneur, or they have their incubation, some product designing and all, right? And then how many of these students go across the international boundaries for professional ethics. So these are few parameters, but you can add into it depending upon where your students are being placed, or what is the major trend of students qualifying or uh, graduating from your institute, right? So there you can map or make a table that how you yeah, whether the POs has been uh, like attained or not, right? So this is again some assessment tools. So we call it as direct tools as well as the indirect. So direct tools will be simple when the students are passing out, what is the result, right? How many students, how was their performance, how many got CGPA of more than 9 or A plus, and how many like this. So this is the direct assessment. And indirect, as I said, placement record, higher studies record, gate score, alumni survey, right? So every year, if you take the survey of alumni, so you will get each and every data about the alumni, and that can be used as the for the attainment of the POs, right? Stakeholder surveys and alumni survey like this. So this is about what tools can you be used for checking that whether POs have been achieved or not. Okay, and ratio and all I'll talk about. Then we have the program outcomes. I hope that now everybody knows about the program outcomes. So earlier it was like guidelines, or the it was the every department had its own program outcomes. But now, because India is a signed authority of WTO, and the graduate attributes given by the ABET and WTO, they are uh, the POs basically, right? So these are the graduate attributes which are given. So now the program outcomes are directly the same as the graduate attributes defined by the World Treaty Organization for the accreditation of engineering graduates. Okay, so this you all might be having, and you can just go through also. So 12 POs are there: engineering knowledge, problem analysis, design development, and conduct investigation of complex problems, how the modern tool usages, engineer and the society, that whether how much you are contributing to the society, then environment, ethics, individual teamwork, communication, project management, and lifelong learning. गुड़िया सेशन में हो, रुक जाओ, नहीं. Okay, so these are the 12 program outcomes, which as I mentioned, they are same as the graduate attributes. Now, along with the, because POs are now fixed, POs also are for the entire, like if suppose we have a computer science department, and in computer science department we have 2 or 3 programs, say BTech in computer science engineering, BTech in IT engineering, BTech in CSE, and say data science. So their POs can be same. Okay, so POs are also same, POs are also fixed. So there is one flexibility given by NBO, that is framing the program specific outcomes. So these program specific outcomes can be framed to depict if something is not being covered under POs or POs, right? If you feel that my department, say department is environmental engineering, and I feel that the POs or the graduate attributes are not doing the entire justice to, or POs are not done, so we can frame the PSOs specifically for that program, not for the department, but for the program. PSOs can also be design, but again not more than 2 to 4. Only 2 to 4 PSOs can be there, which you think that the POs or POs have not covered that aspect. Okay, so as this is example of civil engineering, like build structure, because in civil engineering, if your MTech or BTech is in structure engineering, so you see that in POs we are not talking about any structure or this thing. So you can formulate these PSOs, right? And then come the third part, that is the course outcomes, which are specific for the courses. I won't talk about much because lot of sessions have been taken about the course outcomes. Now know that how the Bloom's taxonomy is used, and the course outcomes have to be measurable. And as I said, the thumb rule is 4 to 6 learning outcomes should be connected with the one course, right? So, and then you also you also have gone through that there are certain verbs which, like at every Bloom's taxonomy, uh, which level you are working upon, and what your outcome is based on which level of the Bloom's taxonomy, whether it is lower order or HOTS, that is higher order thinking skills. So at every level we have the verbs, words which should be used, right? Action verbs we call them. So like this is a very bad example. Everything understand, understand. You cannot measure understand. I say that understand the aspects of basic physics or basic engineering drawing whatsoever. So how can you measure how much I have understand or how much another student has understand, or so this is a very poor example of writing the course outcomes. So you always should uh, take into account the action verbs which are available in the Bloom's taxonomy to not only frame the course outcome, but I would suggest to frame the questions also. So if you are using these action verbs for framing your questions in the question paper, then it will be very clear for you also that at which level of understanding you are asking the question, and how you can map it with the course outcome also, right? So okay, and so course outcome, action word, or the learning statement has to be taken care, and all the action words. So instead of writing understand, you can say whether he is able or could identify or plan or demonstrate. So these type of words you can use, right? So this is one example which you can see. And whenever you write the course outcome, you should we have to map every course outcome with the program outcome. I'll show you this one. Okay. Yeah. So basically, it is triangulation of the COs, POs, and POs. So you have one vision statement. For that, two, three mission statements. They should encompass all the POs, right? And POs should be mapped with the graduate attributes, that is POs, and then all these have to be mapped with the COs. So such type of mapping has to be done at the beginning level of the program and at the end of the program, that is attainment, whether we are able to attain or not, right? So how we take the alignment, so let me come to directly to the mapping part. Yeah. So this is like one example. So you have program outcomes, or I can say like this. So 12 program outcomes are there. and these are your the course that okay, before this we can come to this. Yeah, so course outcome and the course code, and whether it is the lab or whether it is a lecture or something else like seminars, presentation or so, how many credits are there, right? So course outcome and how the mapping is done. So earlier it was that mapping like color, this is the color code, so black color is showing the strong contribution, that is PO1 is strongly interrelated or correlated with the course 1. B is course related with the CO1. Similarly, you can see the purple one is the light contribution or white one is no contribution. So this type of mapping, but this was very abstract mapping. Again, quantification was not done. So it was said that we can quantify that if the PO is fully mapping with the CO, then you give a 3 marks, and if it is partially meeting, then give 2 marks, and if it is poorly meeting, then give 1 mark, and if it is not associated, then give the 0 mark. Let me show you one example. Yeah, so this is one articulation mapping, say subject communication system, all PO12s, and in the subject of communication system we have, let us say, CO5. So like first PO is having the basic knowledge of the engineering, so obviously the CO1 is mapped with the PO1, right? And it is not fully mapped, so it is given marks 2. Then second PO, CO, PO3 and CO. So properly you can see that, and PO7, 8, 9 are not mapped, so they are left with the 0 marks, and rest of them can be marked as 2, 3 or 1, right? So this is every faculty when they make their file, course file, so before they begin with the taking their classes, when the course outcomes are there, like you usually when you give to your students the course plan, that contains of okay, what is the syllabus, what is the books we'll be dealing with, what is the assessment criteria, along with it you should provide this also, the course outcomes, that these are the outcomes which are expected out of you, and this is the mapping, right? So this should be the part of your lesson plan, course plan file. So this is mapping, and then you can do the averaging part just to quantify, because at the end of the day, now last yesterday also Dr. Avdesh was asking that how we will see that whether we have attained it or not. So these numbers will help us to justify our attainment of the course outcome at the end of the semester or at the end of the exam. So this is one mapping of COs and POs. And if we have PSOs, then they should also be mapped. Nowadays, they don't ask for it, but earlier the PSO and COPO mapping was also checked. But now the PSOs, they usually they have removed. Okay. So this is the articulation which has to be done in the very beginning. Similarly, for not only for the theory but also for the lab course, same exercise should be done. Mapping of the COs and POs. Okay, so this is how like COs and POs should be made, and similarly POs and POs should also be mapped. Proper alignment. So 12 POs and say 4 POs, they should also be mapped. But that should be done by the head of the department, kind of for the entire department, because PO is for the department, not the subject wise. So POs and POs should be mapped at the department level. Okay. And similarly, POs and mission statements should also be mapped. So they should be also done at the department level, that whether the POs which are framed for the department, are they mapping the mission statement of the institute or of the department. Okay, so these three, these two mapping, articulation mapping metrics have to be maintained by the department, POs with POs and missions with POs, and this has to be maintained by every faculty member for every subject, whether it is theory subject, whether it is a practical, whether it is a seminar, and whether it is presentation or industrial training, whatsoever it may be. Okay, any questions up till now? Any questions?
Good morning, ma'am. From
Yeah.
ABS Engineering College. Ma'am, I want to ask one question. For MCA program, is there need to make the PSO program a specific outcome? Because
Ma'am, it's not, it's PSOs are not specific to any program. If you think that the POs, the graduate attributes, they are not catering to any of the aspect of your program, then you can make PSOs. Otherwise, it is not necessary.
okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
I'm Dr. Nupma Sharma from here Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, in IT department, we are having two sub department. One is IT and one is CSIT, right, ma'am? So we are having a common PSO. We are having 12 PO and two PSO, and we have not separated out for IT and CSIT branches.
Right, right, right. No, no, it is not required for separating.
Okay, okay. But some subjects, one or two subjects are differ in both the branches. So,
तो उसके तो कोर्स आउटकम्स चेंज होंगे ना मैम.
right, right.
PEOs are for the entire department. उस department में आपके, if you have IT, you have CSIT, you have only CSE, right?
Mm-hmm.
For them, the COs will be different for every subject.
Okay, ma'am.
But if, yeah, take in, if same subject is being run in both the departments, usually CS or IT, the curriculum is
More
70
or
to
less same.
80%
Yeah.
similar,
Yeah.
right? So if the same program is run in two different degree programs at the same time, then their course outcome should be same.
Okay, ma'am.
That you have to take care.
Right. Ma'am, one more query. When we map the POs with the COs, then we have actually in our college we have taken like if we have some technical subject, so we map a broad line we have made for that. If it is a technical subject, we map with first five or six uh, POs, and if it is non-technical, then we map our COs with 6 to 11 POs.
No, 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 no,
It
no.
is not correct, I think.
No, every CO has to be mapped. See, what we do is we say, because see, I'll just show you. The issue is that if I say the POs, let me come
Yes,
to the
ma'am.
POs.
As you shown this table to us, so we have some table blank. So that should
No,
not
no,
happen.
nothing has to be. See, actually, problem is कि what we infer is कि as you are saying कि technical है, तो we are just uh, correlating them with the first six,
Yes.
because it is engineering knowledge, it is problem, it is
Yeah.
design, right? It is
Yeah.
modern tool, and then after six you are not doing.
Yeah.
But no, see, it can be the map, the relation may not be that strong. So you cannot give 3 marks, but at least 1 mark should be given, right? If you say simply ethics, and
Yeah.
I say the applied physics, or say I basic electronics, digital electronics, basic electronics, or any basic electrical subject, okay?
Yeah. Yes,
So
ma'am.
you will say, okay, what we are teaching, it's not only teaching. If a student is, see, if a student is being taught a subject and you are giving him an assignment, or he's appearing for the exam, or he's giving a presentation, is he following the professional ethics? He's cheating, he's copying, he's pasting as it is. That is part of the ethics.
Right. So that is indirectly meeting
Yes,
somewhere. So we can give a less mark, but we
yes.
cannot. We should not leave it blank.
Yeah, you cannot leave it blank.
And
Like
some,
project management and finance can be left blank for the, say, any basic communication course, right? Because you are not dealing with the finance.
mm-hmm. So that
Or
time
if
we
I,
can make it zero also somewhere.
yeah, you can make it zero, but it's not that you will only connect only first six and not rest of them. And for arts or non-technical, you can give for the last six. If I say simple, any humanities, say TQM, total quality management, right?
Yes.
There, okay, first and second you can say zero, because there you do not require much engineering knowledge, right? But design and development of the solution, it can be in the TQM also, or
Mm-hmm.
not only okay, design also I will say zero because it is engineering problems, but investigations of the problems, It can be with the TQM also, because it is not related to only engineering or science. It can be analysis and interpretation of data of any type.
Yes, ma'am. So we cannot make a rule कि we will map technical with
No,
this POs and that PO. We
no,
cannot.
not at all. You have to check the entire 12 POs somewhere. Obviously, the non-technical will have strong correlation of the last 6, 7 POs,
Right, ma'am.
and engineering will have strong correlation with the beginning 6
Yes, ma'am.
COPOs. But
Yeah,
the last one is lifelong learning, right?
yeah, yeah.
So that can be, that is irrespective of whether it is a technical subject or engineering or non-technical subject.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay. So then now I will move to the, this was the articulation, how you have to articulate. Now we'll see how to see that whether we have attained or not, attainment of the uh, outcomes. So we have to do attainment at 3 levels. First, whether the course outcome we have attained or not, and that will at the upon the completion of the course, that is mid semester and जो भी end semester के बाद, when the course semester is done, then we check whether the course outcome is uh, attained or not, right? Then we have the program outcomes, and that is at the end of the degree, whether diploma 3 year course or whether 4 year course. So after graduation, we have to check whether the program have been the program outcomes have been attained or not. And POs, as I said, after few years of graduation, right? So PO assessment tool, I've already mentioned that what are the tools. You can have alumni survey, employer survey, placement record, higher education, which I've already mentioned, that what parameters you have to fix at your level, that these are the metrics by which we will check whether our POs have been attained or not, and what should be the frequency of that, right? So yearly frequency, because it has to be checked after 4 years or 5 years. So every year you have to collect the data, and at the end of 4 years, then you can average out, or you can see that whether you have attained the POs or not. So the survey questions, whatever you are, the tool you are using, that is the survey you are making, that should be very precise and connected to your PO statement, because you have to check I have attained PO1 or not. So the questions related to PO1 should be there. So if you are saying that how many of them have the gate score or the gone for the higher education, so the question should be what you are doing right now, or have you completed any other qualification after completing the graduation. So the formation of the form, the survey form or the feedback form, should be in tune with the question in the PO statements, so that you can correlate or you can relate and get the data directly for the checking the attainment of the POs, right? And then PO assessment, uh, you can have the again at the end of the course survey, which we do usually, the feedback. I think every college must be having that feedback process of the teacher. Some take at the end of the semester and some take in mid semester also. So that can be one part of the PO assessment. Then instruction evaluation reports, marks, department performance, and student survey exit. So that is when the student is just going to leave in the final year. Then survey and should be done, or exit feedback should be taken by every student. Alumni survey, alumni board, advisory committee, and then the stakeholders also. So different forms you can make to give to the uh, and you can collect that information to check. Then comes the course CO assessment. So in this case, so CO assessment mainly, as I said, rubrics. So rubrics, whatever we have done, like we make the rubrics and we calculate for each student the marks which is calculated. That will be used for checking whether the course outcome has been attained or not. So I'll show you how. So internal assessment, home assignments, semester exams, so all these can be used as the team. So this is just summary. Just go through this. take a minute and see that this is the crux of the summary of the assessment tools we should be used for the checking whether the attainment is achieved or not.
Ma'am,
Yes, yes.
ma'am, I'm talking about PEOs, review of PEOs. So if we are taking some review meetings, so for PEO,
Mm-hmm.
in that only stakeholders and institution or department faculties will be sufficient, or some outside reviewer is required.
No, for reviewing, the institute or department is sufficient. But for framing or modifying, then you have to form a committee which will include all the stakeholders.
Okay. And ma'am, stakeholders and some outside board member,
Yeah,
some,
yeah, yeah, that you can take. Your
yeah.
BOS member who is external member of BOS, you can also make him member. You
Okay.
can, some professor from other institute, you can
Okay.
make him a member. No
Right.
issues.
Right.
Okay, is it okay? Then we move further.
Yes.
Okay, so this is again assessment. Now I want, yeah. So so now when we talk, mainly we are bothered about the CO attainment. So one thing more has to be done in terms of how we will check that CO has been attained or not. That is when we will be mapping our COs with the question papers, although our assessment, that if suppose now this program, if I show you, so we have two, say, term exams. Say T1 is the mid exam or terminal exam, whatever you call it, and T2 is a end semester exam. A1 is one assignment, A2 is another assignment, third one can be a quiz or a presentation, and then you can have lab. So now for every question you are asking in any question paper, that has to be mapped with that particular CO. Like, so suppose I say in T1 there were only two questions. So question 1 A and B is also mapping to CO1, and question 2 AB is also mapping to CO1, which is wrong, right? So it means when you are conducting, say, first mid semester exam, so if you're asking two or three question in that exam, they should cater to at least one or two COs, because it will not happen that first exam will only be related with the first CO, right? So but what I want to show you here is that your assessment method, how your, what question paper you are making, that should also be correlated with the specific CO as well as the PO. I'll show you one example. I will first directly show you one example.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
in our college, we take first sessional test in which only first unit is coming. So that is related to CO1. So
one, yes, then it's okay. Hmm.
it's okay. Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, right. So only suppose, because in some colleges there are two mid semester exam and then final exam, so then there will be breakage, right? So what I want to show you is that a proper uh, mapping should be done of before conduct of any exam. So it means first exam CO1 question number this, second exam question 1 question 2 mapping to CO3, assignment 1 mapping to CO2, assignment 2 CO3, lab CO4. So such type of articulation has also to be done beforehand, right? So then after that, uh, I'll show you one. Yeah. Now, how to show that the CO has been attained or not? So, what we do is such type of, either you make a Excel sheet where the formulas can also be put, or manually also it can be done for every subject. So what we do is, you see the name of the student, okay, this is the question, terminal 1, mid semester 1, question 1A, question 1B, okay, T1, question 2A, question 2B, and we saw that it is being mapped to CO1 and it is mapped to PO1, okay, and maximum marks are also there. Then every student who has got marks in this is written here. So like roll number 1 or Anusha has got 878 such marks. So this is the total marks, right? So total marks is 23 and total attempted is 30, or you can say that what was the total out of 40, that is your thumb rule. So total marks was 40 and the student got 31. So what is the percentage? 78%. Okay. Now, who will decide? Now, this is a point where we have called the score. So, whether the course CO has been attained or not is shown by again the numbers. If it is totally attained, then we give number 3. If it is partially attained, then we give number 2. And if it is not attained, uh, then we give, say, number 1. Okay. Now, on what criteria do we give? That the institute has to fix. Like suppose here, if I show you, yeah. So now it means this criteria is we have fixed here, that if the number of students scoring, number of students who are having more than 60% marks, if like this is the target, say more than 60% of students are achieving more than 60% of marks, then we will say that our CO has been achieved, right? Then this is the first criteria. Second criteria we write, say more than 60% of marks, more than 70% of students achieving 50% marks, like means you decide the stages and that depends upon the institute or that depends upon the department. Okay, if I say that my 70% of my students have secured more than 70%, if the paper is easy, say basic course is there, so marks you get more marks, right? Say digital electronics, the students usually tend to get more marks, then your criteria, your strong correlation will be that more than 70% of the students are getting 70% marks, then you say that your CO has been strongly achieved. And if the subject is very hard, or you say very difficult, say in or any subject you take, say advanced DSP, there you students are getting less marks, then your target may be different. So strongly related criteria has to be defined. Moderate, it means less than that. Okay, if 60% are not achieving, but is it, the student is getting 50%, then it is moderate, and otherwise it is low. So this criteria has to be set and a proper justification has to be provided on the basis of selecting that criteria, right? And these criteria can be, you know, changed, modified also for a year or two. Suppose in first year you see that the course outcome is not being met, like if I show you in this case. So
Ma'am.
let me finish, then I'll take.
Yeah.
So every student is getting 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So total is average grading is 2.78. So it means the first CO for the entire class is now 2.78. It means, and it is out of 3. It is more than nearing to 3. So it means we will say the course outcome has been attained. If it would have been low, similarly for assignment also, if in some cases it might be not 2.56 but let us say only 1 or 2, then we will say the course outcome has not been attained. Okay, so let me show you that. If I have, yeah, this is the final one. So there are 4 COs and we got 2.78, 2.78, 2.56. So it means we say that all the 4 course outcomes have been achieved for this. And if you find that for the 2-3 semesters or for 2-3 session CO4 is not being achieved, it is 1 or less than 1, so it means there is some issue with the either the formation of the course outcome or the teaching process or the subjects or the asking the questions. Then you can reframe your course outcome, right? So now, yeah, yes, now you tell me what's the question. Yeah, somebody was asking question. Okay, if not, so once it, so this is
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
done. Yes,
I
please.
was having one question. Ma'am, this assessment criteria attainment के लिए that
Hmm.
can vary subject to subject or it should be average criteria.
Ma'am, actually for that particular semester it should be same.
Mm-hmm.
It should be same, not for semester, balki during that session it should be same for every department.
Mm-hmm.
For different department it can vary, but for that department it should be same.
We can take an average criteria.
Yes.
Okay.
Then abhi जैसे 60%, getting 60% is a very nominal criteria,
Mm-hmm.
right? क्योंकि 60% इसका background is that 60% used to be first division, okay? That is the student is good, and 60% of students, because generally we take a benchmark that 10% is very intelligent, 10% is very low, 80% is mediocre, out of which 60% is at the higher level. So this type of justification can be done. If you see, if you make it 70%, the justification can be that the students entering your college, they are good J rank holder, so their intelligent level is far much better, so you expect that they should get at least 70% marks, right? और CGPA मैपिंग से भी कर सकते हो. So जो भी ये criteria दोगे, that has to be justified, okay, on what criteria you are selecting this point for attaining these
And that
COs.
criteria should be a single criteria for
Yeah,
that.
for that session, yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
So once this is done for the entire course, then it should be done for the when for all courses it is done, then for POs it should be, because PO की भी mapping साथ में ही आ रही है यहाँ पे, then a proper CO PO mapping should also be seen. So I think I missed that slide. Oh, so once PO mapping is done, then for every subject it should be done, for every semester it should be done. So this type of, you can finally show that whether the POs have been attained, or because or COs have been attained or not. So CO attainment will lead to PO attainment, and for the entire semester, for the entire subject, you can show whether the POs have been attained or not, right? So this type of exercise has to be done for every subject, because this will give you the exact picture whether you have, whether the, what is the foundation, how you are calculating, and how you will show that the CO has been attained or PO has been attained or not. So this is semester mapping also. This is not mandatory, in fact, but this is the subject mapping. So like for the, now you see this was a humanities subject, okay, social and legal issues. So see the first POs which you were mentioning, there is very less correlation of the first 6-7 POs, right? Similarly for, so attainment is also very less, whereas in engineering parts this attainment or this mapping is more. So you can show this data, percentage semester attainment, right? And this is the attainment of the PO attainment of the exit surveys. So these are POs, these are the exit survey questions. Now see the type of questions. The PO is ability to apply the knowledge of maths, right? So what type of exit survey questions are framed? To what level you are able to apply? To what extent you are able to support? So ask such type of questions which which you can directly relate with the PO. So if they say okay, 2, 3, 14, so you can just quantify them, total them, average out, and when you average out, then you see okay, 3.96 out of 5 So percentage is this, and your criteria is more than 70% you have attained, and less than 70 you are not attaining. So it means PO1 is attained, PO2 is attained, PO4, PO5 is attained, but PO3 is not attained, right? So such type of mapping at every level, and you have to measure it. So it's better to give the numbers, numerics to it, so that you can do simple mathematics and justify your this one, right? So this is end semester. Okay. So this is how you show the, you do the attainment. So this is overall. Okay, weightage I will not talk about. So this is how you do the attainment, right? So for what the when now we have talked about so much about OBE, that this should be done, yeah, but there should be a proper administrative support for proper implementation of OBE. So those who are already NAC accredited, they must be knowing about the IQAC cell. That is, there, those who are not, I'll just brief them. So every institute should have a internal quality assurance cell, which takes care of the quality of the system, and that is whether that covers the entire system, but it gives a support for the OB, because it will take care which department, which subject, or which PO is not mapped, which PO is lagging. So proper evaluation and assessment can be done by the that quality assurance cells. So if that cell is there, then every department can get a support system for the attainment of COs and POs. Then you have an alumni body. Obviously, it should be there. Then attainment of POs and POs to suggest. Yeah, program coordinator or course coordinator is required when the same subject is being taught by, like simple first semester subject, applied physics, so that every branch is being taught, chahe electronics or chahe chemistry, civil or mechanical or so. So one coordinator should be made, because different teachers will be teaching the same subject to the different students. So one course coordinator should be made, who will take care of all the who will take care of all the marks and all, and do this assessment part, right? So course coordinator in case number of teachers involved in one course, and program coordinator in case of the department running more than one program. So as ma'am mentioned, that CS faculty, the CS department has CS department is running one IT program and one CSIT. So for NB accreditation or for implementation of OB, one program coordinator for CSE, one program coordinator for the IT. So such type of, if the entire institute setup is put in place, right, then this OBE implementation and going for NBA, going for NAC will not be, otherwise it seems a very Hercules job to implement this. But if this setup is from bottom to top, everything is in place, and everyone is helping each one, then the things become smoother and it becomes a habit. Beginning it will be very tough. Okay, again you have to write for every question paper. So in question paper also, make it mandatory for every faculty that in front of the question which you are asking, question one, explain this. When you write the marks at the end of the question, write the CO also. So like question one, statement, marks 5, and then write the statement. If I have that, I can show you if you are. So that type of practice, if it is done, then it becomes easier. So when the teacher knows that question one, who has any student who has done the question one, it means that question is connected with the CO1. So the marks are to be given under CO1. So that type of practice, if it is done in the very beginning, then there will be no any such problem for assessment. Okay. चलिए, any questions? जब तक I can find out, I had that problem. Any questions for this? You are welcome. Yeah. So like this, any sample, this is old paper, but with question one, when you are writing marks, write CO also. So any student who is attempting question one, how many marks he is getting, so you directly know, okay, CO2, CO3, CO4, like this. So such type of question paper, if everyone makes in the very beginning, then there won't be much effort will be done on behalf of the teacher. Okay. With this, I finished the session, and if any questions anybody wants to ask or any query any person has,